Nietzsche's terrifying truth, you are your own worst enemy. Have you ever felt like there's something holding you back in life? Like no matter how hard you try, there's this invisible force that sabotages your every move. What if I told you that this force isn't external, it's you? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most influential and misunderstood philosophers of all time, believed that the greatest obstacle to your growth, your happiness, and your success is not the world around you. It's not society, fate, or bad luck. It's you. And the scariest part, you don't even realize it. Nietzsche's philosophy is like staring into a mirror that shows you the truth, not the version of yourself you want to see. He believed that deep down, every human being is divided. There's the person you are right now, and then there's the person you could be, your highest potential, your Übermensch, or overhuman, as he called it. The problem is that the person you are right now is terrified of the person you could become. Why? Because growth is painful. Becoming your best self means destroying the comfortable illusions you've built around your life. It means confronting your weaknesses, your insecurities, and your darkest fears. Let's start with one of Nietzsche's most provocative ideas, the concept of Amor Fati, or love of fate. Nietzsche believed that most of us live in denial of reality. We blame our circumstances, other people, or the past for our unhappiness. We wish things had been different, that life had been easier, that we didn't have to struggle so much. But Nietzsche saw this as a form of self-sabotage. When you reject your reality, you're rejecting yourself. You're saying, I can't handle this. I'm not strong enough, and that's the lie you tell yourself every day, that you're too weak to face life as it is. But Nietzsche challenges us, what if you stopped running from your fate? What if you embraced every moment of your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as necessary? Imagine looking back on your entire life and saying, I wouldn't change a single thing, not even the worst mistakes or the greatest pain, because all of it made me who I am. This is Amor Fati. It's not just accepting your fate, it's loving it. But here's the kicker, loving your fate doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean sitting back and letting life happen to you. It means taking responsibility for your life, no matter how hard it gets. This is where Nietzsche's terrifying truth comes in. You are your own worst enemy because you refuse to take responsibility for who you are. Think about it. How many times have you blamed external factors for your failures? How often do you tell yourself, I'm not successful because the system is rigged, or I can't change because of my past, or I'm unhappy because of what someone else did to me? Nietzsche would call this slave morality. It's the mindset of a person who feels powerless, who resents the world instead of taking control of their life. But Nietzsche believed that every single one of us has the potential to rise above this. He called it the will to power. The will to power isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering yourself. It's about transforming your weaknesses into strengths, your pain into power, and your fear into courage. And here's the hard part, no one can do this for you. No one is coming to save you. Nietzsche reminds us that true growth is a solitary journey. You have to face yourself, your flaws, your failures, your fears, and say, I will not let this define me. I will become something greater.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But let me ask you this, what are you running from? What part of yourself are you afraid to confront? Because Nietzsche would argue that until you face that part of yourself, you'll never be free. Think about it. How much of your life is spent avoiding discomfort? We distract ourselves with entertainment, social media, and shallow pleasures because we're terrified of looking inward. But Nietzsche believed that the only way to grow is to embrace the discomfort, to push yourself into the fire and let it burn away everything that's holding you back. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the person you could become, if you stop sabotaging yourself. We'll explore why most people never reach their full potential and how you can break free from the chains of your own mind. Nietzsche believed that greatness isn't reserved for the lucky few, it's a choice. But the question is, are you willing to pay the price? Becoming the Übermensch, why breaking yourself is the key to true freedom. What does it mean to become the person you were truly meant to be? Nietzsche believed in the concept of the Übermensch, or the overhuman, a person who transcends their own limitations and rises above the herd mentality that keeps most people trapped. But here's the thing. Becoming the Übermensch isn't about gaining power over others. It's about gaining power over yourself. It's about breaking free from the chains of fear, doubt, and conformity that you've wrapped around your own soul. And here's the terrifying truth to become the Übermensch. You must first destroy the version of yourself that's holding you back. Let's start with what Nietzsche called the herd. Most people, according to Nietzsche, live their lives as part of a collective mindset. They follow the rules, beliefs, and values handed to them by society without ever questioning them. Think about it, how many of your daily decisions are truly your own? What career path did you choose? What do you believe about success, happiness, or morality? If you trace these back far enough, you'll find that many of your choices weren't choices at all, they were expectations placed on you by the world around you. Nietzsche thought that living this way, blindly following the herd, is the ultimate betrayal of yourself. Why? Because it keeps you small, it keeps you safe. The herd doesn't want you to stand out, to be different, to challenge the status quo. The herd rewards conformity and punishes those who dare to think for themselves. And here's the hard part, it's comfortable to stay in the herd. It's easy to follow the crowd, to live a normal life, to avoid the discomfort of walking your own path. But Nietzsche would ask you, is comfort worth the cost of your soul? Becoming the Übermensch requires breaking away from the herd. It requires creating your own values, your own purpose, your own truth. But this isn't a simple process. Nietzsche believed that to create, you must first destroy. This is what he called the great destruction. You have to tear down the illusions you've built around yourself, the lies you tell yourself to avoid taking responsibility for your life. You must dismantle the comforting stories you've been told by society that success looks a certain way, that happiness comes from external things, that you're a victim of circumstances beyond your control. But here's where it gets hard. This destruction isn't just about rejecting the world around you. It's about confronting the deepest parts of yourself, the parts you'd rather avoid. Nietzsche would argue that the greatest battle isn't between you and the world, it's between you and yourself. Think about it. How often do you sabotage your own potential? How often do you let fear stop you from taking risks? How often do you settle for less because you're afraid of failing? Nietzsche believed that the only way to grow is to face these fears head-on, to look yourself in the eye and say, I am the one holding myself back, and I'm the only one who can change that. But there's another layer to this. Nietzsche didn't just believe in destruction, he believed in creation. Once you've torn down the old version of yourself, you must build something new in its place. This is where the concept of the Übermensch comes in. The Übermensch is someone who creates their own values, their own meaning, their own life. They don't rely on society, religion, or tradition to tell them what to believe or how to live. They take full responsibility for their existence. But here's the scary part, there are no guarantees. Nietzsche believed that life is inherently chaotic and meaningless. There's no grand plan, no divine purpose, no cosmic justice. For many people, this idea is terrifying. But for Nietzsche, it was liberating. If life has no inherent meaning, that means you have the freedom to create your own. You don't have to live by anyone else's rules. You don't have to be the person society wants you to be. You can become the person you want to be. So let me ask you this: what do you need to destroy in your life to make room for something greater? What beliefs, habits, or fears are holding you back from becoming the person you could be? Nietzsche's philosophy isn't comfortable, and it isn't easy, but it's honest. And it's a reminder that the only thing standing between you and your highest potential is the version of yourself that's afraid to take the first step. In the next part, we'll explore the ultimate challenge Nietzsche poses to all of us: the idea of the eternal return. What if you had to live your life over and over again, exactly as it is, for eternity? How would you live if you knew every choice mattered forever? Nietzsche called this the ultimate test of life, and it might just be the key to unlocking your true power. The eternal return. Would you live this life again forever? Imagine this: one night, as you're lying in bed, a shadowy figure appears at your side. It leans in close and whispers a single question into your ear: what if you had to live this exact life, every moment, every decision, every triumph, and every failure over and over again, for all eternity? Would you curse this thought, or would you rejoice? This is Nietzsche's idea of the eternal return, one of the most profound and terrifying challenges in all of philosophy. It's not a thought experiment meant to entertain, it's a test of how you're living your life right now. Let's break it down. If the eternal return were true, your life wouldn't just happen once. Every choice you make, every regret you carry, every joy you experience, it would all repeat endlessly, exactly the same, with no changes, no escape, no relief, forever. Think about that for a moment. What does it feel like to imagine reliving your life as it is, without the possibility of changing even the smallest detail? Does it fill you with pride and gratitude, or dread and despair? Nietzsche's challenge here is simple but brutal. Are you living a life you would be willing to relive for eternity? If the very idea of eternal return makes you shudder, then Nietzsche is holding up a mirror to your existence, showing you what you already know deep down: you're not living authentically. You're not living fully. You're not living a life that's truly your own. But here's the thing: Nietzsche didn't propose the eternal return to condemn us. He proposed it to wake us up. Because if the thought of reliving your life forever fills you with regret, then that regret is a signal. It's a sign that you're not aligned with your true potential, that you're letting fear, inertia, or external expectations dictate your path. And the terrifying beauty of the eternal return is that it forces you to confront this truth. So here's the question Nietzsche would ask you: if you wouldn't want to live this life again, then why are you living it this way now? Why are you holding on to the things that make you miserable? Why are you settling for a version of yourself that doesn't reflect who you truly are? This is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes incredibly practical. The eternal return isn't about whether this idea is literally true, it's about using it as a tool to evaluate your life. If you're not proud of the life you're living, then it's time to make a change. Nietzsche believed that true freedom comes from taking responsibility for your existence, from seizing the power to shape your own destiny. But this isn't easy. Nietzsche's terrifying truth is that we are our own worst enemies. We cling to our excuses, our fears, our comforts, because the alternative, radical, honest change is terrifying. But here's the paradox: the only way to truly live is to confront that fear, to take the weight of the eternal return on your shoulders and say, yes, I would live this life again. I would live it 1,000 times over. So let me ask you, what would you change if you knew you had to live this life forever? What would you let go of? What would you fight for? In the next part, we'll confront the final and most difficult question Nietzsche leaves us with: how do we overcome ourselves? How do we stop being our own worst enemy and embrace the freedom of becoming who we were meant to be? Nietzsche believed the answer lies in one final act of courage, the courage to say yes to life, no matter how difficult, chaotic, or uncertain it may be. The courage to say yes to life, overcoming yourself. What does it mean to overcome yourself? Nietzsche believed that life's ultimate challenge is not conquering the external world, it's conquering the internal one. Most of us are trapped in a battle with ourselves, waging war against our insecurities, our fears, and our doubts. And yet, this is a battle we must fight if we are ever to become who we were meant to be. Nietzsche's final, and perhaps greatest, lesson is that the path to freedom begins with a single, radical act: the courage to say yes to life. But what does saying yes to life actually mean? It's not about blind optimism or pretending everything is perfect. For Nietzsche, life is harsh, chaotic, and often cruel. Pain, loss, and uncertainty are unavoidable. To say yes to life is to look at the chaos and embrace it anyway. It's to affirm life as it is, not as you wish it were. It's to accept not only the joys but also the struggles, not only the beauty but also the ugliness. Here's the truth that most of us don't want to face. We spend so much of our lives saying no to life. We reject the parts of our existence that feel uncomfortable, painful, or out of our control. We try to numb ourselves with distractions, avoid challenges, or blame the world for our unhappiness. But Nietzsche saw this as a form of weakness, a refusal to confront reality as it is. And this refusal is what keeps us small, trapped in a cycle of resentment and victimhood. To overcome yourself, you must first overcome this tendency to say no. Nietzsche believed that true power comes from embracing the full spectrum of life, from stepping into the chaos and saying, "I accept this, I embrace this, I will shape this." This is what he called the Dionysian spirit, a spirit of vitality, creativity, and resilience that doesn't shrink from life's challenges but thrives because of them. But here's the hard part: saying yes to life requires you to confront your deepest fears. It requires you to face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, the parts that hold you back. Are you afraid of failure? Nietzsche would ask why. Failure is inevitable, but it's also necessary. It's through failure that we learn, grow, and become stronger. Are you afraid of pain? Nietzsche would tell you that pain is part of the price of greatness. Without pain, there's no growth. Without struggle, there's no transformation. And this is where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes deeply personal. To say yes to life isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a daily practice. It's about the choices you make every single day, the choice to face your fears, to take responsibility for your life, to stop blaming others, and to embrace the possibility of failure. It's about the choice to act, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain, because deep down you know it's the only way forward. So let me ask you, what would it look like for you to say yes to life today? What fear could you face? What risk could you take? What part of yourself could you stop running from? Nietzsche believed that the moment you say yes to life, the moment you stop resisting and start embracing, is the moment you begin to overcome yourself. But this isn't the end of the journey, it's only the beginning. Nietzsche reminds us that life is a constant process of becoming. There's no final destination, no point where you can say, "I've made it." To say yes to life is to commit to growth, to change, to the endless challenge of becoming the person you were meant to be. In the final moments of this journey, Nietzsche leaves us with one last question: what are you willing to sacrifice to become who you are? Because in the end, the greatest truth is this: the only person standing between you and your highest potential is you. And the only way to overcome yourself is to have the courage to embrace all of life, the good, the bad, and everything in between. Will you say yes?